Greetings YouTube. I'm Unleashed back at you from right here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel, right here in the Grow Zone 8B in Tifton, Georgia. And in this evening's video we're back out in our 20-foot by 10-foot by 7-foot high tonal greenhouse. It's midwinter here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel here in the Grow Zone 8B. In today's video YouTube, we're going to be attempting to propagate a fig tree cutting. We want to bring you guys along for that process as we attempt to propagate this fig tree cutting over here. We have a fig tree cutting that we've dubbed the Chalice, and we named it that because it is indeed already a chalice shaped cutting. It has three main growth tips on it, and we're going to attempt to propagate this fig tree cutting today. We're going to flip this camera around for you guys, get our tripod set up, and show you guys the few simple materials that we need to propagate fig tree cuttings. And as you all guys should know by now, fig tree cuttings are indeed simple. One of the most simplest plants you can ever encounter to propagate. So you guys should already know how to propagate fig tree cuttings by now if you've watched any of my previous videos. But if not, YouTube, if not, again, I'm going to bring you guys up along for this particular video and show you how we go about doing it. Hang tight, I'm going to get my tripod set up and I'll bring you guys right back. Alright YouTube, we're back. As you can see, we have our trusty and ever so handy Scuttles garden shears that we use for most of our propagating videos, and to shear and prune most of our plants in our high tunnel and out in our front yard garden extended grow area. Here we also have our favorite brand of organic rooting hormone. We have a 1 gallon container here, YouTube, filled about just about to the rim with our favorite mix of potting soil here. We have one 1 gallon Ziploc type plastic container, plastic bag here, YouTube. And last but not least, we have our cutting itself that again we've dubbed the Chalice. I'm going to remove this plastic wrap from this cutting right now and show you guys what it looks like and why indeed we're calling it the Chalice. Hang tight, YouTube. Alright YouTube, we're back. I'm going to get this cutting unwrapped for you guys and show you what it looks like and why indeed we have dubbed this particular cutting the Chalice. Take a look at that, guys. You guys see that already chalice shaped form that this particular Celeste fig tree cutting already has, YouTube. Again, when we took this cutting, we purposely took this cutting and shaped it this way in hopes that all three of these main branches here will indeed bud out for us and produce new foliage. And if so, we will, in this particular fig tree, will form a chalice shape as it grows. That's what we're hoping for, YouTube. This is what our cutting looks like. I want to show you guys how we go about preparing our cutting to receive that rooting hormone that we have there in that container. For that step, YouTube, we simply take our trusty Scuttles garden shears. I know most propagation videos tell you when you receive a fig tree cutting or when you take a fig tree cutting and you're about to propagate it, to make a new cutting on the bottom. We won't be doing that. Here we've found that making a fresh cutting kind of opens up your making a fresh cut on the bottom of your cutting kind of open up your cutting to possible disease and mold, fungus, etc. But we won't be doing that. What we will be doing is scoring this cutting lightly along the growth nodes here, as the growth nodes are the places where new roots are most likely to form and new growth is also most likely to form. We won't be going that deep. A lot of videos tell you to go all the way down to, you know, you see white and all of that stuff. We won't be doing that, YouTube. We found that it's not necessary. Most fig tree cuttings will root even if you don't score the cutting itself. Most fig tree cuttings, if it's a healthy cutting, will indeed root even if you don't use a rooting hormone or the best soil. It just takes the right grow conditions in order for a fig tree cutting to actually sprout roots and begin to produce new foliage. So what we're going to do here, YouTube, is simply score this cutting. We'll use the cutting edge of our trusty Scuttles garden shears to score this cutting along this growth node here. I'll show you guys how we go about doing that right now. So we just lightly scored that cutting there, YouTube. We're going to do that in a couple of spots along this area here where we expect for roots to most likely develop. You can see we scored this cutting a total of 3 times. That's one there, and one there. We're going to score this next growth node also, because when we plant this particular fig tree cutting, we plan on planting it at least this deep, at least 3 growth nodes deep, and just leave these 3 main branches here above the soil. So again, we're going to do that same thing here along this particular growth node here. Just score our cutting there and there. Again, nothing fancy, nothing scientific, or you don't have to be a botanist or horticulturist or anything like that to propagate fruit tree cuttings, YouTube. Next, we're going to grab our favorite brand of rooting hormone here. We're going to simply take our cutting, dip it into this rooting hormone, try to get a little of this rooting hormone on all of those places where we scored the cutting along that stem. I'm going to take and remove that excess rooting hormone from our cutting. It doesn't take a whole bunch. And again, YouTube, as I told you guys, intend on planting this cutting at least up to this particular growth node here, and leave just these 3 main branches here above the soil. I'm just going to take my finger here, YouTube, make a hole here in the center of this pot, all the way down, about the length of my finger. Now, our soil here in this pot is already moist. The bag that we got it out of, the soil came in that bag was already moist. So when we plant this cutting, we would not, YouTube, be watering this cutting in at all. We found also that that's not necessary, and especially when you're growing in a greenhouse type situation like we are, YouTube. If you're growing these cuttings out in the open, it may be necessary to water it in, as you have to worry about, water and moisture evaporating from the soil. But we're using the soil and bag method, so there will be no moisture evaporation from this soil once we place that 1 gallon bag over this container. Next, we're just gonna simply take our cutting, YouTube, place it in the center of this pot in the hole we just created for it, orient it as straight as we possibly can, take our fingers and press that soil in around this cutting. You do want to make sure that your soil is firmly pressed in around your soil. You want your soil to make good contact with your cutting. It doesn't have to be completely just hard packed down, but you do want your soil to make good contact with your cutting as it begins to root. Again, our soil in this spot is, as you guys can see, moist already, so we won't be watering this cutting in. This is what our cutting looks like, oriented in the center of this pot. Now what we're simply going to do is take this 1 gallon hefty Ziploc type bag and place this bag over this cutting in this pot. And for this step, we actually remove that little zipper because it makes it easy for the bag to spread open a little further here, YouTube. We're going to stretch our bag all the way to the corners. Make sure we get the maximum amount of stretch around our container. And these are the type of plastic bags that have a seat in the bottom. So these are not the narrow bottom plastic bags. So we chose these type because it leaves more space, more air space and more space in the bag itself. And it's a lot harder for the bag itself to collapse down around the plant once you place it over the container. Now what we're simply going to do is get this plastic bag placed over our cutting and over the container itself. For this step, you actually kind of have to stretch the bag a little bit to get it to go around the edge of the container. If you purchase some of these containers from us to use in your garden, and you're going to use your containers to propagate or even to germinate seeds, these type of bags work perfectly with these type of containers that you guys may have purchased from us. And as you can see, it leaves a tremendous amount of airspace in this bag, and this bag is not likely to collapse around the plant as suction from the atmosphere inside this greenhouse draws air out of the container itself through the root holes in the through the drain holes in the bottom. Normal bags of this type that don't have a seat in the bottom, that have a very narrow bottom, those bags tend to collapse around your cuttings or whatever you're growing in these type of containers. So we really kind of recommend these bags with the seated bottoms in the bottom of the bag. At any rate, YouTube, this is what our newly planted Celeste fig tree cutting that we've dubbed the Chalice looks like in its new 1 gallon container. Again, we're using the soil and bag method to propagate this particular cutting. We're going to place this cutting on our rear grow table back there in the back of our greenhouse somewhere, and we'll bring you guys back at the very first signs of germination, of propagation here on this particular fig tree cutting. Thanks for watching, YouTube. And if indeed you currently are watching this video on propagating the Chalice, and you're not already subscribed to the Green Thumb Gardening channel, please indeed take this moment to press that subscribe button beneath this video, that like button, that notification button, and be sure, YouTube, be sure to share this video with your friends and family as well. Yeah, YouTube, yeah. Propagating the Chalice right here at the Green Thumb Gardening channel. Grow Zone 8B in Tifton, Georgia. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Go hard. Yeah. Go hard. Go harder. Go hard. Go harder. Go hard. Go harder. Go hard. Go harder. I met this OG on the block. He told me, go hard and make them feel me when I'm on the boulevard. When mothers get the nerve to test me, leave them scarred. No waste no money on making it rain. At the bar, he told me, once you get your boys heard, don't stop. Them labels hate, but they can't touch you. On the top, just sit back and lie and watch as all their albums fly. And keep on catching checks each time your songs drop. He told me, everybody in your circle ain't your friend. Don't know the game and they don't wanna see you win. Like snakes off in the grass, they're solid, but listen in. Claim that they got your back, but quick to turn you in. Don't tell the whole world about how you make your moves. Remember, lying, you ain't got a thing to prove. Don't ever auto-tune and keep it old school. If Popo gets behind you lying, play it cool. Go hard, go harder, 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 go hard, go harder. He told me every time you hit the mic, rip it up. Don't ever stop rapping till you get enough. Don't be no gangster that can get you locked up. And before you even take a stroking, wrap it up. He said, lying, don't you let this world bring you down. Some people gonna hate you cause your skin is brown. Don't walk through life with blind eyes. Look around.